Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy, joined alongside Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray. As always, if you're watching here on Twitch, feel free to give us a follow, twitch.tv/NWTV7. If you're watching on YouTube, as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video to stay notified for when all our content comes out. But as always, the important question of the day, Andrew, Connor, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Another not bad week. Going pretty quick. Already Wednesday, so things are going pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a pretty simple day. Just had regular classes and did band right before this.
There we go. So, big sports weekend as always. We're going to get to that, kind of preview what's going on week 13 of the NFL, conference championship weekend in college football. But we have to start with celebration. Hooray for the United States of America, the greatest country to play soccer. Everyone else calls it football, so we kind of win that one by default. But America out here trying to prove a point. It's called soccer, not football. The U.S. beating Iran 1-0 in the group stage, and the U.S. moving on to the knockout round to play Netherlands Saturday at 8 a.m. So be ready for that, because if America keeps winning, the more obnoxious our country will become towards the rest of the world. You have been warned.
I mean, it's obviously a great win for the United States. They really needed this win after getting 2 draws, because with Iran getting the victory over Wales, if they would have drawn with Iran, it wouldn't have Iran would have went and the United States would have went home. So they really get this win. Obviously, Christian Pulisic sacrificed himself to at least get the first and only goal of the game, and obviously worked out well for the United States, and hopefully they'll do well against the Netherlands.
Yeah, absolutely. They went out and did what they had to do, offensively and defensively. Got the goal, and then you saw them go pretty defensive there late in the game and did what they had to do and in this game and move on. So no, congratulations to them. I think it's the first time since around 08. I think they're moving on from the group stages.
I believe I want to say 12 or 16.
It was 2010.
Or 10. Yeah, because they do it different. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it was 2010 the last time they got out of the group stages. Yeah. But then it's been since 14.
It's been too long. Let's
it's been over 8 years.
It's been a while. Hooray, best country on earth. Insert every American stereotype in here.
What happened?
Not that one, but moving on to the NFL, obviously Week 13 getting started tomorrow. Buffalo taking on New England in Foxborough. Always a fun time when these two teams get together. The Bills, 3.5-point favorites in this one. I mean, if you're Buffalo, you are escaping with your life after that Thanksgiving win in Detroit. Looked like it might have went to overtime for a minute. But the Patriots, well, they're also coming off a Thanksgiving game. Theirs didn't go as well. They got beat by Minnesota. So should be an intriguing one between these two.
I think we battle early on. I think Buffalo will slowly pull away and win this game by double digits. I think the Bills are just too strong offensively and defensively. And get a week. It's not a short week for them like it was last week. So I think Josh Allen and company goes out, takes care of business, and that offense is just going to be too much for the Patriots. And here's the I Patriots need to get the passing game going. I do like Stevenson on the ground, but I think the passing game is where it's going to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, I think Bills will overwhelm New England over time. Obviously, Josh Allen will have a solid day. I think defense will be too much for whoever they throw at quarterback with New England. Bills win.
Yeah, I think the Bills take care of this one. They're just too powerful of a team. And, I mean, that's what it is for even most teams, whether it be NFC or AFC. The Bills are going to do whatever they want to do by the end of the game. That's just how they're built to play. Looking on to the next one, a battle of two unlikelies. The Steelers are 4-7. The Falcons are 5-7. Pittsburgh, 1-point favorites on the road. Atlanta, they're trying to hang around. They have that NFC South they're still competing for. My goodness, what a disaster of a division that is. It's just so funny to look at it every single week. We might get to that here in a little bit. But if you're the Steelers, you got a big win against the Colts. You're trying to keep momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always one division like it. This year it is the South, and we'll see how it continues to play out. What a weird division for Atlanta so far, but they have hope, and we'll see how it comes out to play. I think Atlanta takes this game over Pittsburgh at home. I think they get the job done. I think they're better offensively, and I think that's where it's going to come down to down there in Atlanta. So I think Mariota, Cordell Patterson, I think they're able to get the job done. And in a close game, we'll say 27-24.
Yeah, I agree with that. Atlanta will find a way to make Steelers make too many mistakes, try to get Kenny Pickett to be a little uncomfortable. I think Atlanta will just do enough to win.
To me, this is one of those, this really is a coin flip game. Vegas almost has it as a pick 'em themselves. But usually in these type of games, you go with the home team, and I'm going to agree with both of you. Atlanta will find a way to win this game. But, man, it'll be tough. It'll look ugly at times for both sides. But I think the Falcons find a way to get the win. The next one, an NFC North battle, an old black and blue division game. And, my goodness, these teams are feeling that way. Two beat-up teams. Two teams that have just struggled all year. The Packers and the Bears, usually a considerably big game for these two. Still is for them, but not really for the rest of the nation.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers owns Chicago, so I'm going to go with Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to go out and win this game. Like you said, both teams are pretty banged up, so I think you can kind of wash that factor out of it a little bit just because both teams are facing multiple injuries. And in the end, I think Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, A.J. Dillon, I think they're all too much for that Bears defense. And with Bears missing Darnell Mooney now for the foreseeable future due to his injury, I don't see the Bears offense getting going a little bit.
Yeah, for the Bears, if a couple of games went the other way, they'd have shockingly they would have a better record than Green Bay, but they don't. So even then, even if they had a better record or the current record that they have, Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears. So, like you said, Green Bay will pretty much do what they can to keep Fields in check.
Yeah, this is going to be one that I think somebody is going to step up for Green Bay other than Aaron Rodgers, whether it be an Alan Lazard, someone like that. It's going to be one of those days where the Packers kind of wake up and remember who they're supposed to be, and they go out there and play like the team they usually are. Packers 4.5-point favorites. I think they cover that. The next one, two teams that, hey, they're finding momentum. Jacksonville and Detroit, both teams 4-7. Both teams, you want to look at the past few weeks, they're both feeling pretty good about themselves. They've each won 2 of the last 3. The Jags just got a big win against Baltimore, going for really everything there right at the end on the 2-point conversion, and it works for them. Detroit, like we talked about earlier, starting to get their momentum together, starting to get into a groove, but, man, that Buffalo game, you're going to look at that and think, how in the world did we at least not send that one to overtime or possibly win that game? But the Lions, still at home, they're 1-point underdogs. Vegas liking Jacksonville in this one.
Yeah, they're going to lose this game just the way they lost that game to Buffalo. It's going to come down to, you ask the question, how did they not send to overtime? It's because of how bad that defense is and how easy the Bills are able to march down the field, back-to-back 30-yard plays, again, the field goal range in less than 25 seconds is just unbelievable how you let one 30-yard play, let alone 2, in the final 30 seconds of a game when you know exactly what Buffalo will do. And that's why they're going to go out and lose this game. Jacksonville's defense is a lot better than Detroit's. The offenses are fairly similar, and I don't think the Lions will be able to stop Jacksonville when it's all said and done late in the game, where I think Jacksonville's going to be able to come up with some big stops and turnovers in this game. So I like Jacksonville here. I'll say 27-17.
Yeah, for this one, obviously both teams same record, and I think Detroit obviously had like you said, not great. Didn't finish a game like they probably should have, or allowing Buffalo to at least try to send that game to overtime, whether they win or lose out of that. But I'm going to go opposite. I think Detroit bounces back from it, and I think their defense only just does enough to stop Trevor Lawrence from overtaking the game at the end. I think Detroit gets it.
I think Detroit somehow, some way finds a way to win. This is going to be one that defense is going to bend, and it's going to bend a lot. It'll look like it's going to break at any moment, but this is one where their offense will be able to carry them. DeAndre Swift will break out a few big runs. Maybe Jared Goff hits a big pass or two. Lions win in a close shootout is what I'm thinking in this one. The next one, the Jets. If you're a Jets fan, Mike White Appreciation Day, one of your new favorite holidays, with how he was able to play and come in. And the Vikings are sitting at 9-2. They're trying to fight back They want to prove they're the best team in the NFC. Well, their road's just going to get a little bit harder. This is a Jets team that no matter who they have, they're still finding ways to win games. Minnesota, though, 3-point favorites at home.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better games of the week. Jets have. I think it's time to start saying we're surprised and just accept the fact that they are going to be in every game pretty much this year. Receivers have been able to get it done. I know they've had you name the quarterback each week. They don't know who's playing quarterback each week, but they keep finding ways to get it done thanks to the defense. And I think that's the direction you're going to see this game go. I think you're going to have a very competitive defensive battle between these two teams. And in the end, I think with Minnesota being home, I think Minnesota is stronger. They'll find a way to win a close game around 20-17. But no, in the end, I think it's going to be Dalvin Cook is going to be the big difference here. He's still the best player on the field. He'll show why in this game. And I don't know. It's going to be an intriguing game, though. I think this is one of the better games of the week, shockingly.
I think we're obviously this is the time especially the time of the game will probably be where Kirk Cousins plays a little better overall, and obviously Dalvin Cook will be the difference maker in this game. If he gets going like how we know he can, he more likely will. Minnesota should win this game. Not by I'd probably say about 10, 13 points, give or take. Probably slowly eventually get there, but Jets are going to be in it for most of the game. But I think eventually Minnesota will do. Dalvin Cook will do what he does best and extend that lead out.
To me, this is one of those. This is going to be a tight game for 3 quarters, back and forth. Someone's going to make a mistake. I think it's more than likely the Jets will, and Minnesota will slowly go on one of those 7-8 minute grinding drives to just let the game slowly go away in peace, and the Vikings hold on and get a win. The next one here, the Commanders. What a rally Washington has been on, winning 3 in a row. They're trying to make it 4 in a row. They're taking on the Giants this week. Same thing could be said about New York. You lost to Detroit. You lost to Dallas, the opposite of Washington, but that streak's still going there. Interesting to see how this one will play out. Commanders are a 2.5-point favorite, but it is at the Meadowlands, and anything can happen there because, my goodness, the Giants are a weird team. They just are.
Yeah, you want to watch ugly football, here's the game you tune into. It's going to be one of those giant defensive battle. Both quarterbacks struggling. I get everyone loves the Heineke magic, but let's be real, he's not a good quarterback. He's just finding ways to win. And
if you can find ways to win, that still makes you a good quarterback just to do enough.
Listen, Andrew,
I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely.
Andrew, here's what we're going to tell you about Mr. Heineke. He got that dog in him. We don't need any other metrics.
I didn't say he didn't have the dog in him.
I know. I'm just saying.
Quarterback.
It reminds me of the memes just anytime, stats, throw them out the window. Got that dog in him factor, 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, Doesn't matter.
Exactly. Again, I agree completely with that.
That's the point.
I'm just saying.
He was good.
I'm just saying he's not even a top 20 quarterback in the NFL.
No.
Maybe not even top 25.
Well, then again, he's only played like 4 games. So.
Well, he's played last
Always had
season.
more than that.
I'm talking about
this
year.
season.
No, Wentz hasn't played since like week 5.
Yeah, so it's Heineke. He's had some time now.
Yeah, he's been there half the season at least.
Either way, it don't matter.
But no, I just think I don't like either of these quarterbacks, and these defenses is where both these teams are winning. And in the end, I think the Giants win this because of Saquon Barkley. I think he's the best.
Given the ball enough.
I think he's the best player on the field in this game, and it'll be interesting. I think the big matchup to watch is Barkley versus. I think Chase Young's back, so Barkley versus Young there on the defensive line there for Washington is going to be the key matchup here for the Washington defense. But in the end, I think Giants win a close one, 21-17.
My whole thing, especially looking at some of the last few games the Giants have played, Barkley is not hardly given the ball as much, and they keep going to Daniel Jones for some reason. It's like your best game, especially what was working early in the year, was like give the ball to Barkley as much as possible, and Daniel Jones will just do enough to help the team out.
Well, they're using him a lot in the passing game.
But-
He's got some of the most scrimmage yards in the league, is where they've been going all year. They're not necessarily handing him the ball off, but they're going through their screens and going through stuff for their offensive line through that way. So
either way, I'd say give him.
they've
more.
mixed Barkley in there through the passing game.
I'd say give him, but still give him more thing on the run. That's what I'm meaning, because games where he's mainly been given the ball to run a lot more. He's done great. I understand they've done it where they want to throw it to him, but it's like you use more of both. Instead, they haven't really used a whole lot for the run game with him, and having Daniel Jones throw a lot more than he typically was doing earlier in the year is what's hurt them in a lot of games. Obviously, between Heineke and Daniel Jones is the better quarterback, but it's still no. I'm being serious.
I don't know. I think I actually
you're
like
going with
Heineke more just because of the memes. You know how this works. I was a Cooper Rush supporter as well, though.
I'm saying if you're going with the whole, you got that dog in him, then okay, you can make a case there. But statistically, Daniel Jones is a better QB. It's like not saying he's great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's doing. I think he's better than what some people give him credit for, but. In the end, New York's gonna take it. If you utilize Barkley more, you win this game without much issues and a close one.
Yeah, it'll be an absolute battle between these two. I am interested to see Saquon Barkley versus the Commanders' D-line, because that is something Washington excels at. They only give up 108 rushing yards per game, as you could probably see on the screen right now. This is going to be an absolute war, like you mentioned, Andrew. This is going to be two teams with, well, let's face it, below-average offenses going up against above-average defenses, and that is going to be for a tight, just low-scoring slugfest, and I think that's the key to success here. If the Commanders can just keep going around, rely on that defense enough, someone's going to make a play, probably going to be Terry McLaurin. He's going to show up. Scary Terry strikes again, and I think the Commanders get the win and find a way to keep on rolling.
Yeah, so let's see. Heineke's playing 6 games this year. How many games have they played?
They've played. This is
so they played
12.
So
each half the season.
Him and Wentz have played 6 games, and Wentz still has over 300 more yards and 3 more touchdowns. So it's just funny how that works out.
It is funny how that works. It's one of those you don't really expect Heineke to do much. So when he does anything, it's just like, oh, hey, look at that. That's great. Let's go. I don't know. It's something about backup quarterbacks in the NFC East this year. Whether it be Dallas or now at Washington, it somehow works. Maybe Giants need to pull that strategy at some point. I don't know.
Who can name the Giants' backup quarterback?
There's
a real trivia question.
We can try to find that out right now. We just do a little clicking and go to a little depth chart. It is a Tyrod Taylor.
There you go. That's actually
not a bad backup to go with there. So,
no Gardner Minshew, but
yeah, that's true. No Gardner Minshew. Speaking of the team with Gardner Minshew, the Eagles taking on the Titans. Philly, 5.5-point favorites in this one. This is an Eagles team. You had a kind of weird shootout. You're not expecting that, I would think, with Philadelphia this year. They're not a team that's had to rely on putting 40 on anybody.
Especially like Green Bay's been struggling.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting them to put up 30 either.
But that isn't exactly what ended up happening. Eagles taking on the Titans should be a great one.
Yeah, I'm surprised, honestly, that the spread's 5.5. I'll take Eagles to win, Titans to cover. The way teams have been able to run the ball against the Eagles' defense, and you're going up against one of the better backs in the game, I think that's Tennessee's recipe. Obviously, I know Ryan Tannehill has been up and down health-wise, but, I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, Tennessee knows how good Derrick Henry is, obviously. I think they take advantage of the run game to keep this game close and kind of control the momentum and control the game that way. But in the end, Eagles are home. Eagles are the better team. I think the Eagles find a way to edge out a close game there, 23-20.
No, it's another game that will come down to Jalen Hurts being an unbelievable playmaker, able to get some passing touchdowns, able to get yards when you need it on his legs, even a lot more than that. And Eagles defense I think will be able to hinder Tannehill, but it's going to be a struggle for them to deal with Derrick Henry. But I think at the end of the day, Philly will win this game.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia gets the win as well. This is going to be one where you're going to see Jalen Hurts. He might have to actually win a game with his arm, believe it or not. He can use whatever he wants, but Tennessee's secondary at times, man, has been rough to watch. Their strength is also controlling the run game. But I think Philadelphia won't have trouble there. It'll be a close game because the Titans, like you said, Andrew, when you have Derrick Henry, you can just give him the ball reasonably 20, 25 times. Yeah. See whatever you can do there. But I think Philadelphia still finds a way to win. The next one, the Broncos taking on the Ravens in a game where, I mean, both teams, you're just trying to still figure out who you are. We know who the Ravens are, but it's not what fans want them to be. Obviously, a team that week after week gets into tight, contested games. And for Denver, just about everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. I don't know how many times I could say that. The Broncos are 3-8, despite all the talent you look at. You would say, hey, these look like some playmakers here. Well, not really working out for you. And that's why the Ravens are an 8.5-point favorite in this one.
Yeah, rightfully so, and I think the Ravens will cover it. I mean, until Russell Wilson and company give us any reason to believe otherwise, there's no reason not to think that. The only problem is Ravens get up big, and then they always let every team back into the game. So who's to say Denver doesn't do that and do one of those backdoor covers in that sense? You saw that with Jacksonville last week. I mean, Ravens were winning the majority of that game, then all of a sudden, Jaguars come down the field, and of course they go for two, and an unusual Justin Tucker miss, but everyone thought Baltimore would survive that one there, but not last week. But no, I think Lamar Jackson just going to be too much for that good Denver defense, and then Mark Andrews just continues to find ways to get open, and that offense is going to be too strong. Baltimore wins this game 30-17.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson Company, they're going to jump on Denver. Obviously, they're like you said, like we've been mentioning all year, their biggest issue is trying to close games out. I think they'll be able to do it against Denver, but you could probably see Denver somehow get, like you said, getting a backdoor cover. I'll give them that, and Baltimore just doesn't will win pretty easily.
I think Baltimore will finally learn how to close out a game, mainly because Denver will make them close the game out. Russell Wilson will have a bad throw, or there'll be an untimely fumble, something along those lines that will just bounce right into the hands of a Ravens player. But we got to talk about it. Come on, ESPN. Denver doesn't really have a leading rusher. Come on, guys.
I know, yeah.
What are we doing here?
I get they cut Melvin Gordon, and he was the leading rusher, but guess what? Whoever was
there
running
are
back
other
two,
people,
which is Latavius Murray, I believe. You can check me on that, but I think it's Latavius Murray. He's obviously now running back number one, or rushing leader number one.
Yeah, so Latavius Murray there. So
he's obviously got the most rushing.
Yeah.
Or even if it's Russell Wilson, he'd still be the leading rusher.
Yeah.
Just like you saw in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. So it's not a running back thing either.
Yeah, it is weird to see how that works, but hey, I'm not running the website. I don't know. What I can tell you about it is we have our next game, the Browns and the Texans. It's the expected return of Deshaun Watson, a game that Houston fans probably have circled. What better game to welcome the quarterback back than the place where they probably dislike him the most?
Yeah, no question about it. Especially everything went down. We've already covered that, so I don't have to go in detail with what happened again. But, yeah, Watson comes back. He's been over a year and now 11 weeks since he's played a game. So, obviously, I think you're going to see a lot of rust in his first game or in the first quarter before he kind of finds rhythm. But I think he'll not get back to his full self, but I think he'll look pretty good in the second half once he gets a half under his belt, and the Browns will ultimately win this game pretty easy. But I'm excited to see – you're not excited, but I'm interested to see how Houston's fans, come out and react, especially with a 1-9 in one season so far. We'll see how full that stadium gets or how many Cleveland fans travel. But it definitely everybody circles it just because of the Watson comeback. Was this supposed to be a Sunday night game? They flexed this back to just because how bad the Texans were. I don't know why. I feel like I remember this game supposed to be like Sunday or Monday night because of his return.
I think everyone just in their minds when that got announced just expected this to be one of the biggest games of the week. And, of course, the Texans are not great this year. The Browns with Jacoby Brissett have not been great this year by any means. So, what a surprise. It's a noon kick. I mean.
Oh, no, I'm not angry about it. It should be a noon kick.
But like you said, Andrew, to me, the crowd's going to be a big factor in this one. I fully expect Houston's fans to be, well, not in a good mood is the best way to put it. Your team's already not having a great year. It's the quarterback that left you, and then adding on to the other atrocities, if you want to add that word, I guess, what he's been doing. If, some people don't think he should be playing at all this season, this is his game back. It's going to be a wild time, I feel like. But the Browns are 7-point favorites here.
Ready for the most Houston thing ever? You're expected to get the first pick all year.
Yeah.
And you're going to you're gonna upset here just because Deshaun Watson, you're gonna win this game, cost yourself the first first overall pick because you're a tie in the beginning of the season, and you'll finish a half game better than the other team.
Now that would be what the Texans do best. But at the end of the day, I think Houston will put up a good fight for a half, similar to what we've seen them do this year, and then they'll fade away in the second.
Yeah, I agree with that also. Houston will do enough. Probably Deshaun trying to get the rust off him, but when second half rolls around, Cleveland will win this game.
Yeah, it'll be one where I'm sure a lot of people won't be happy about it, but Deshaun Watson will more than likely win his return game. And then the next one, the Seahawks and the Rams. Hey, once again, the Rams apparently do not have a leading rusher. Thank you, ESPN. Rams are 7-point underdogs in this one as Seattle. They had the OT game with Vegas, which, my goodness, Josh Jacobs. That's the word. That's all you need to know there. Seattle, though, they still put up a good fight. I mean, Seahawks are 6-5. They're still battling for that NFC West title.
Yeah, this is a weird game written all over it. Stafford's still doubtful, so he probably doesn't play. Seattle seems like they're starting to slowly become the team we thought they'd be coming into the year and struggling. So I don't know. This to me has Rams upset vibe all over it, but because of Stafford being out, I'm going to lean towards Seattle finding a way to get the win on the road, but I am very tempted to pick the Rams.
Yeah, for this one, it's like overall, I think Rams probably could get this win, but because of Stafford not playing, I would like you, Andrew, I'd pick Seattle to win.
And it's not even just Stafford. I mean, it's Allen Robinson, Aaron Darnold. I mean, they're just banged up at this point in the season.
Say Aaron Donald was announced as out earlier this morning, so I think with all the injuries piling up, even more so now, I think Seattle takes it. It'll be tight. It'll be close. It'll be, probably down to the final possession of the game. But I think Seattle finds a way to get it done. And the next one, the Dolphins taking on the 49ers. Tua, I saw earlier today, he's starting to make his way into MVP talks. And my goodness, he's had a good season to prove it. And an 8-3 Miami team, however, when you go to San Francisco, you know how they're going to play. They love that grind-out game with Jimmy Garoppolo handing the ball off. Let your defense take care of business. Niners are 4-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, this is a great game written all over, too. It'll be interesting to see which does better, the Dolphins' offense or the 49ers' defense, which is a big part of them winning games, one of the better defenses in the league. But I like upset here. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, they all get the job done offensively. I think they're going to be too much for that San Francisco defense. And in the end, I like Miami over San Francisco.
Yeah, for this one, offensively, Miami all around has better weapons top to bottom. And Frisco, I know their offense can do enough to win games. We've seen games where they've played really well and then played really poorly with Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback. Obviously, San Francisco's defense been solid for the most part, but I think for this one, I think Miami's offense, like Tyreek and Waddle, like you said, Andrew, will be a little too much for Frisco to take.
Yeah, I think Miami finds a way to get this one. That offense is too explosive. Dolphins don't need to run the ball a lot here. That's not how they're designed, and that's San Francisco's strength anyway. So I think this is one that benefits Miami more matchup-wise as well. Then again, when you have Tyreek Hill running around too, that's a matchup nightmare for you.
So just run down the field, we'll throw the ball up to you. And
run a vertical.
Somehow fall in your hands.
Yeah, just run a vertical every time. You'll be fine. Yeah. But the next one here, the Chiefs taking on the Bengals. It is rematch time from last year's game. Bengals now hosting it, not at Kansas City like it was in the postseason. Chiefs are still 2-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be the opposite of some of the other games defensively. This one's going to be a shootout, in my opinion. Offenses are going to take over, and you obviously got two great quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, and then two solid offenses top to bottom as well. No hiccups anywhere. Both can run the ball well. Obviously, Chiefs got a plethora of weapons in the passing game. Same with the Bengals, starting with T. Higgins and company. I like Cincinnati here, though. I think they get the job done. Kansas City's obviously been playing phenomenal all season, but you get a tough road matchup here, and unfortunately, I'm going to go against my boy Andy Reid and take Cincinnati, getting, I guess, an upset on the upset at home here, according to Vegas.
I'll disagree with that one. I think Kansas City's defense will be able to get pressure on Burrow, make him throw maybe a couple interceptions throughout the game, and then the offense for Chiefs will pretty much just take care of business, and I think Chiefs win a 13-point game.
To me, this is one of those tough ones to pick because, man, both these teams, they're so talented across the board. But, I mean, if Jamar Chase, if he's able to come back, if Joe Mixon's able to come back, which I think are both possibilities this week, the Bengals being at full strength, having some time, this is a game. I mean, you circle every game on the calendar, of course. It's the NFL. There are no easy wins, no games to overlook. But this is one both teams have been wanting for a while, and I think Cincinnati, with the home crowd behind them, helps propel the Bengals to get the big upset. But, boy, this is going to be a fun game.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad it's the afternoon one.
I am too, but my goodness. And then the next one, the Chargers and the Raiders. This is one, don't overlook it, folks. Josh Jacobs. That's all you need to know about the Raiders right now, just Josh Jacobs. Devontae Adams, he's been playing well at times. And Derek Carr, he's still there. He's still just chugging along. This is a Chargers team. I mean, what else can you say about the Chargers? They're still up and down. That's just how they've always been. Raiders trying to find something. They've gutted out a few OT games. They're trying to win one in regulation now. But Vegas still has the Chargers 1.5-point favorites.
Yeah, the Raiders have been in every game. It's not like they're getting blown out. They're losing one-possession games to the Colts, to the Jaguars. So really, a couple breaks here and there, you could be looking at 4 straight wins. But in the end, I think they're going in the right direction while, like you said, Cade, Chargers continue going up and down. I'm going to take the Raiders here at home. I think they're able to get the job done. Josh Jacobs is playing out of his mind. Derek Carr's doing enough to win games. Both defenses have struggled at times this year, surprisingly, especially from the Chargers standpoint. But in the end, give me the Raiders here, and Josh Jacobs have another big day.
I think, like you said, trajectory on where both these teams are. Chargers are just way too inconsistent from game to game, while as Raiders have been competitive in most of their games. Just some of them, they just either they're blowing the lead or they just cannot get get the points that they need at the very end to possibly send a game to OT or win the game. But I do agree. I think this one, Raiders will find a way to win this in regulation due to the incompetence of the Chargers defense.
This is one where there's going to be a lot of running lanes for Jacobs. He'll have whatever he wants. Raiders are going to get an upset here and have 3 in a row that they've won, and everyone's going to go, oh, hey, yeah, they're the Raiders. They still exist. They're trying to become a force here late in the season. The next one, the Colts and the Cowboys. Indianapolis, 4-7-1 on the year. They have been struggling. You just had the loss to Pittsburgh. And now you got to go take on Dallas, who's 8-3. They're still in the hunt in the NFC, and the boys are 11-point favorites.
Yeah, and rightfully so. This Colts team's a mess. They continue to struggle. I think the last 2 weeks, you're kind of seeing part of the Jeff Saturday effect. I know it's early. We'll see what he's able to do in the full off season. But again, he's a guy who hasn't really been a coach. He's coming off ESPN against Mike McCarthy here, Super Bowl winning coach. I think that plays a factor in it. I think top to bottom, Cowboys just a better team. Prescott, Ryan. You named the matchup here, and then obviously we've talked about the Cowboys defense plenty of times. So in the end, yeah, Cowboys are just top to bottom better, and I think they even cover the 11 points. I think this one is over quickly.
I think for this one, I think Colts at least put up a solid first half-ish effort. Dallas doesn't right away do much, but eventually throughout the whole game, if you give the ball to Pollard and Dak does what he can do best at, that Dallas should win this game and cover the spread eventually.
Yeah, I think this is the blowout more than likely of the week. Cowboys they're just going to be overpowering. That's how this is going to work. Unfortunately for the Colts, they're still just trying to rebuild. It doesn't feel like you should be rebuilding, but that's just where Indianapolis is at this point, it feels like.
Oh, no questions about it. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Taylor on the move this offseason or by next year's deadline. I just think that's the direction this team's going, and with a high-powered back like that, running backs only last. They don't go as long as other guys do in the league. So I think that's, to your point, Cade, about rebuilding. I think at some point you got to look at your team and see how do you get better faster, and that's the guy you'd move to add picks to get better faster. You look at you look at the depth. I mean, is Sam Ellinger the answer at quarterback? I mean, I think we all probably say probably not. You're dealing with him and Matt Ryan, so you don't have your quarterback of the future, and I mean that's the spot you need in this day and age.
It absolutely is, but for the Colts, it's just you got to keep just keep weathering the storm here. The next one, speaking of teams going through storms, the Saints 4-8, but hey, Tampa Bay's 5-6. If you can beat Tampa Bay, you're right back in that NFC South division race. But the Buccos are 3.5-point favorites in this one, and I mean, if you look at Tampa Bay, it's just what a weird season it has been. You lose to the Browns in overtime. You had tight wins against Seattle and the Rams. Close loss to Baltimore, but a blowout loss to Carolina a while ago. Man, this is just such a weird game, and we know that the Saints always seem to play well against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay at home will find a way to do enough to get the win. I think it's going to be a very good game, very close game throughout. I think it'll be similar to some of the last few games. They should beat the Browns. They let that one get away in the end of the game. But I'm going to say Tom Brady bounces back here and gets the job done for the Bucs.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think Tampa will rebound. I think Bucs defense will do enough to force Andy Dalton to throw a couple picks, and Tampa takes advantage of it, gets points out of it, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, and I think they'll eventually get the win.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay finds a way to take this one. It's one of those that you look at it for the Saints. This is going to be kind of the game to get back on track. If you lose this one, I mean, I would think you really enter a spiral at that point because you're just trying to fight for anything. And you're still in that weird borderline because of how bad the NFC South is, where you don't really have to tank yet. You're still in play, but if you lose this one, that question I think comes up. Do we just start that rebuilding process? Do we just let it begin? Or do we still try to hope that Tampa Bay and Atlanta can lose a few more games?
Well, they're going to do everything they can to hope because they don't have the first-round pick because it's in the Eagles' hands. So I hope they tank completely and the Eagles can continue to get that pick. But, yeah, no, that's what I love about the Saints this year. If the season ended today, the Eagles would have pick 5 and 32.
There you go. There you go. So, Andrew, official anti-Saints fan. Or
I've heard against them all year.
Pro-Saints tank commander, Andrew. So, we'll have to see how that goes for them. But, hey, we've made it through the NFL. Time to look at some college football. Folks, it is conference championship weekend. I would say Saturday, but there's a few games on Friday as well. But looking at the playoff rankings, came out last night. I mean, no real surprises, I would think, on this one. In your top four, Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. These are the four teams everyone kind of expected to be here this week after what was really a chaotic weekend of football.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I don't like having Alabama ahead of Tennessee. Same record. Tennessee beat them. I mean, we're saying games don't matter against head-to-head. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying there. I don't like seeing that in terms of that standpoint. But, no, I think you have a chance to have a lot of chaos this weekend, depending on what happens. I mean, obviously, I'm hopeful, but, I mean, how fun would it be if LSU finds a way to win? You create the one loss there. Kansas State beats TCU. You get one loss there. I mean, maybe Purdue pulls off the miracle and beats Michigan. Everybody has one loss, but we'll obviously dive into those games here shortly. But no, I overall I think it's where you're at there. Notre Dame was a pretty big jump there for losing to a top 10 team. I thought that was a little harsh there for how much they've turned their season around.
But I mean, yeah, it's going to be one of those that, man, just what a wild week to kind of touch on it a little bit more. Michigan blowing out Ohio State the way they were able to win now. And I know some people were making argument, well, with that win, how Michigan played, do they deserve to be number one? That was a possibility some people tried to throw around. Of course, the committee disagreeing there. I disagree with that as well.
Because Georgia has overall throughout the whole year has played consistently well. Michigan has had some games against some lesser opponents where they didn't really blow anyone out right away. It mainly kind of came around later in the second half where they blew some teams out. But it was just like from start to finish, Georgia overall has played better after the weird game against Missouri. They have beaten up a lot of really good teams, and plus Georgia's schedule overall was more difficult per se than Michigan and Ohio State, regardless of who would have won that game. But Michigan obviously went into the horseshoe, blew, basically like just destroyed Ohio State in that second half, and there was no reason. And the highest they could have gone was up one spot. There's no way you're going to get past Georgia. TCU USC is obviously where there should be.
And then looking at it here, I mean, LSU taking the huge tumble to Texas A&M. Just what a shocker that seemed to be. I mean, A&M written off the entire season with how bad they had played at times. You had the stadium 1/4 of the way full for their win against UMass, and then they come back, get a sellout crowd, provide a great atmosphere, and upset LSU. I mean, what a big win there for the Aggies. Oregon State, I don't know how much either of you saw of that game, the 21-point blown lead by the Ducks to allow the Beavers to slip into the top 15. How about that? The highest ranking for Oregon State since 2000. Shout out to the Beavers there, the other orange and black OSU. So Texas, they're in the top 20. It's just they're back, folks. Again, how many times I can say, okay, the 8-4 Texas, 8-4 Notre Dame, 8-4 South Carolina. Gamecocks, of course, big story with them, beating Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back to end the year. Great story for Shane Beamer and Spencer Rattler playing some good football as well. But also, Tulane at 18, we'll talk about them. They're the official representative as of today. Of course, if they lose Saturday, they won't be. But right now, they would be that team to get into a New Year's Six game. So how about the Green Wave?
Yeah, phenomenal year, and I think credit to them. Obviously, started back in week 2 or week 3 when they beat Kansas State, and everyone was like, how did Kansas State lose to them? And now we know why, as they continue to have a successful season, and they get one more opportunity here this weekend to play a ranked team and get another ranked win, and then, like you said, Cade, get that New Year's game.
Yeah, it'll be absolutely insane to see how this works, but getting to the predictions now, SEC title game, CBS, 3 o'clock, always that traditional slot there. Georgia, 17.5-point favorites in this one. And with the way that LSU played last week, that does not surprise me.
No, yeah, it's partially going off that. I mean, you have a chance for LSU really to go into this weekend with high momentum if they're able to get that win at A&M, and then you have a chance if things bounce your way, you're able to sneak into the playoffs. But unfortunately for them, they weren't able to get the job done. In a big-time game like that for the meaning behind it, and you're going to get the repercussions here, and that's you don't have a chance to play for the playoffs. Obviously, you can hoist that SEC championship trophy here on Saturday afternoon, but I think that's very difficult here against Georgia, and I'm going to pick Georgia here to win this game. I think offensively and defensively, they're just going to be too much for LSU. Honestly, though, I think I'm going to take LSU to cover, but I think Georgia still wins by double digits, so maybe 13-point game.
I think LSU is able to cover it in this game. I think LSU will have some signs of life on the offense to be able to at least get some scores on Georgia, but I think overall Georgia will shut them down most of the game, and Stetson Bennett and company will get the points they need on the board to pretty much win this game mostly comfortably.
Yeah, this is one where LSU, they're going to struggle offensively. Georgia's defense is going to be able to dominate the entire game. The Dogs will do whatever they need to do. Brock Bowers, he'll just have a fun game. That kid is fun to watch. This is one where Georgia really, in my opinion, it's the same game plan they've had all season. You don't need to do a whole lot. You just need to do enough to win. And, I mean, I would think Georgia's in, whether they lose this game or not, but you want to lock up that number 1 overall, of course. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think they will be able to do. Georgia, I think, wins this one, but I think that they will cover as well. That's my difference there. They'll cover and win by 20, I think. The next one, Purdue taking on Michigan. Hey, it's Purdue. They have 17 wins against top 5 opponents in the history of their program, the most of any team, and they're taking on number 2 Michigan in Indianapolis. 7 o'clock on Fox on Saturday night. Wolverines, 17-point favorites in this one. But this is a Purdue team that, I mean, they didn't think they would be here. Iowa just had to beat Nebraska, and the Hawkeyes couldn't do it. Boilermakers taking on the Wolverines.
Yeah, I think this is going to be your biggest blowout out of the championship games. I think Michigan goes out, covers the 17 points. I mean, they're obviously able to get the job done against a very good Ohio State team on the road, and I think you're going to see a lot of that here on Saturdays. maybe see a close first quarter, but in the end, Michigan's just going to slowly pull away. They're just too good for Purdue, and yeah, I like Michigan here, 40-20.
Yeah, I think Michigan. I think beginning of the game, Michigan will have a slow start, but over the course of the game, they're gonna beat up on Purdue and win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see a Purdue upset here, just for the chaos,
That's what I'm saying.
Just for the power of spoiler makers here, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Michigan will slowly pull away from Purdue over the course of the game, but it could be a fun one for a half is my thing here.
Now we get to the next games that will be more competitive.
Maybe. I mean, you never know. That's the fun part about this is you never know until it happens. Kansas State taking on TCU. College game day going to be in Arlington. TCU making the whole, 5-mile trip over. Not even that for some of their fan base. But 2.5-point favorites are the Frogs. They get the whole treatment. 11 a.m. ABC, so big noon on ABC now, not Fox. Woohoo there. We've made it progress, everybody. But, man, this is one that every time I look at it, I go back and, I don't know. TCU, I think, is the better team, but K-State has momentum, and they have an opportunity. They were beating TCU by 18 earlier in the season before Will Howard started to get injured and have to deal with that the rest of the game. I don't know. This is one that every time the more I think about it, the more I change my mind back and forth between these two.
I think the Wildcats win this game. I think they get the job done. I think they pull off the upset and spoil TCU's. Well, we'll see if they get in with one loss, but spoil their undefeated season at least here. And here's my thing. Is I think, again, they were up, like you said, Cade, they're up 18 points before injuries derailed them in that game. I think defensively they're better than TCU. I think offensively they can go toe-to-toe. With TCU, I don't think there's much of a difference, if at all, there. So in the end, I think Kansas State's gonna find a way to pull this game off, and I think first half is obviously a battle. I think Kansas State kind of might get a big turnover and not take control and win big, but kind of gain momentum and take control in that sense from this game and not let TCU take the lead back there. And I like Kansas State here. We'll say 30-27. I guarantee you, purple team wins.
That's a good prediction right there.
That's a good prediction right there. I'm going to disagree with that. I think TCU, obviously, the way they played against Iowa State, I would say, obviously, let's be real. It's like, offensively, Iowa State wasn't going to do anything against TCU, but obviously Iowa State still had one of the better defenses as they pretty much have played every team close because their defenses made a lot of great plays. TCU basically made them look like they weren't even even in the top 5 for defenses in the conference. That's how badly TCU tore them up. I think TCU will ride that momentum, and I think they'll be able to give K-State's secondary a lot of issues. And I think TCU will have, I would say a solid, effective run game. And though I will say K-State with Will Howard under center can at least in many ways match TCU blow to blow for offense, but I think Will Howard will make a mistake that will cost them the game, and then TCU gets out of the Big 12 championship undefeated, surviving.
To me, this is one of those, and I mentioned it, I keep going back and forth. Do I think TCU is the better team? Yes. Do I think they should win this game? Yes. However, Coach Kleiman has been in this situation before. He knows how big this game is. Sonny Dykes does as well. Kleiman's a winner. This guy knows how to win these big-time games. He knows how to hang around and hang around. This is what K-State has always done. With going back to the Coach Snyder days, this is the role K-State always loves to play, and I think they do it here again. Will Howard shows up. He's not getting injured this time. He balls out on the TCU defense, and Kansas State shocks everybody and upsets TCU because, well, let's face it, no one's allowed to go undefeated in the Big 12. That's not allowed. But I think this will be the big upset of the day that everyone will be looking at and going, okay, well, what do we do with TCU now? But the next one, Utah taking on USC. Rematch here. Trojans trying to avenge their only loss of the season. Utah trying to beat USC twice and get that Rose Bowl bid. Trojans 2.5-point favorites in this one, with Caleb Williams officially in the front-runner spot for the Heisman, trying to solidify it now.
Yeah, I like the Trojans to get back and avenge that loss from earlier in the year. I think they the better team. I think obviously they lost a tough game there against Utah early in the season. But in the end, I think Williams is going to, like you said, Cade, Heisman favorite. I think he's able to get the job done. And him and Lincoln Riley are going to the playoffs.
I think for this one, it's USC is, I think, overall has been playing a lot better since the Utah game. I know they had a weird close game with Cal, but that was like 4 weeks back. And then they played really well against UCLA, managing to get the win that they need, pretty much overhead. And then obviously got a really big win on Notre Dame, making it look pretty easily. And obviously Williams playing really well at this part of the season. I think the offense will be a little too much for Utah to handle. I know Utah is probably a more physical team than USC, and that could play some factor in the game, but I don't think it'll be enough to stop USC.
Yeah, as much as I would like to see USC lose this game.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. I don't think it's going to happen. Caleb Williams is going to go out there. He's probably going to play his best game of the season, in my opinion. He's going to prove to everybody, hey, we deserve to be here. This is my Heisman to lose. I'm going to go out there and win it tonight. Utah will be able to keep up, but I think at the end of the day, we talk about USC going to the college football playoff. And what a turnaround it'll be for the Trojans from 4 wins last year to 12-1 in a Pac-12 title. And then Clemson and North Carolina in the ACC Championship, primetime game that, well, just doesn't feel like primetime this year. Clemson already 2 losses on the season. North Carolina's 9-3. 2 good teams, but not the greatness you're used to seeing in the ACC.
No, and I don't know, North Carolina's defense is going to be the biggest question mark in this game. I think you know what you can get at Clemson's offense and defense, but how well can North Carolina defense keep them in this game? I think the offense is going to be able to go out there and score, but is the defense going to be able to do enough to stay in this game? I think you saw Clemson's struggles last week and the weakness there and losing that game to South Carolina. But North Carolina's coming on to a 2-game losing streak, so we'll see who's able to bounce back better. I picked against Clemson last week, and I'm going to do it again this week. I think North Carolina finds a way to pull off the upset and get the job done and take the ACC title.
I really want to pick the same way. I'll do it. I think North Carolina their defense will be able to make some key plays against the Clemson offense. Though I will say they're going to struggle a good amount of the game when it comes to giving up points and yards. But North Carolina's offense is very capable of striking back very quickly, or especially if they get the ball first, they might get a lead and try to keep that lead as best they possibly can. I'm going to take North Carolina to win this one.
Well, I can't believe I'm the only one picking Clemson here. I mean, it's weird saying that, I guess, is more what it is, where a team that's single-handedly dominated the ACC for year after year after year, I mean, that just shows where they are right now. The DJ Uyunglele has not been playing great this season, but still, I do not trust North Carolina's defense at all. Even though DJ has not played well, he doesn't need to play well. He just needs to play okay. You've got other players you can go to. Just give the ball to Will Shipley. If you need to put Cade Klubnik in, I think that's a possibility on the table, as much as Dabo doesn't want to say it out loud. I think Clemson might have to make that quarterback change, and if they do, they find a way to win. And even if they don't, I still think they get a 3-point win. North Carolina's defense has just ultimately struggled this whole season, and that will be their downfall. But the final one to talk about, the AAC, not the ACC, the AAC, the American Athletic Championship, 3 o'clock on ABC. While most people will be watching Georgia and LSU, UCF and Tulane Part 2, once again, back in New Orleans. Tulane trying to right the wrong of a few weeks ago and beat UCF, and Vegas seems to think so. Tulane's 4-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, I like that. I like the 4 points there, and I take Tulane there to cover. I think they get the job done. It's been a special season. I think they continue and end with a special year and give themselves a chance in the New Year's 6 game there. But I think the offense has been phenomenal all year. They can go toe-to-toe with UCF. I think Tulane's got the better defense this season.
Yeah, I think overall, top to bottom, Tulane's been playing really solid. They just obviously had the hiccup earlier in the year against Southern Miss, and then they lost a heartbreaking one against UCF, who was playing well in that game, but then that UCF team would turn around and lose to Navy, who's been pretty bad a good amount of the season, and then they had a wild game against USF, who's also been terrible. But then again, that game's always chaotic, rivalry game. But Tulane, I think, will get their revenge. I think it's just the offense for the Green Wave will do what they can, and our defense will be able to keep UCF in check, and they'll win this game by, I'd say, give them by 13.
It's hard to beat a good team twice, and I think that's what ends up happening here. Tulane is going to remember what they had. Remember, Green Wave, I think, were building momentum towards the end of that game against UCF. They just weren't able to capitalize on a few key plays, and that'll be righted this week. With Willie Fritz saying he's going to stay with the Green Wave, not take the Georgia Tech job, I think that gives the Tulane players the extra oomph they need. This is going to be another battle. Don't think this is going to be a cakewalk for either side, but Tulane will win this one, and I think we see the Green Wave go into the Cotton Bowl this year. Well, just what a story that would be. Tulane having their best season since '98, and they get the storybook ending, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But overall, a fun show as always. We thank you for watching. If this is your first time watching, feel free to follow us here on twitch.tv/NWTV7. If this is your first time on YouTube, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and all those good things we like to say. Leave a comment below as well. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, you can follow us there at NWTV7. But for Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope that you have a good rest of the week, because next time we see you, we'll have some college football playoff breakdowns on Sunday afternoon. My goodness, what a time that's going to be. But until next time, have a great one, everybody.